The government of Kenya knows with satisfaction that since this hospital formally came under the management of the Aga Khan University on July 1, 2005, it has taken a significant step in its evolution into a premier teaching and tertiary care referral hospital. It is evident that the transition to a university hospital has made quality health care more accessible to a broader cross-section of the local population. Your Highness, I wish to recognize the Aga Khan Development Network, under whose umbrella 20 institutions in Kenya, including the Aga Khan Hospital, that offers employment to over 10,000 people and contribute up to 2.5 billion in tax. We consider the works of these institutions as a great contribution to our country. Finally, on behalf of the government, I wish to congratulate the entire Aga Khan community on this very special occasion and wish the Aga Khan University well in its proposed expansion and all its future endeavors.
My thanks go out to all of you for sharing in this occasion with me. It is a special one for many reasons, including my close ties over so many years to this country, and to so many here whose friendship has enriched my life. It was just 1 month ago that I celebrated my 50th year as Imam of the Shia Imami Ismaili Muslims. We are marking that occasion with a series of visits to places where our community has been most deeply rooted. This visit to East Africa is the first of those tours, and that is most appropriate, given Nairobi's central role both in our community life and in so many activities of the Aga Khan Development Network, including, of course, the educational work of the Aga Khan University. The new Faculty of Health Sciences will educate future generations of professional leaders in the evidence-based practice of medicine. Emphasizing both teaching and research, it will be accompanied by a major expansion of the Aga Khan University Hospital here, including a new heart and cancer center, which is scheduled to begin construction this year. What we envision here in the coming years is an institution of some 1,000 students and 175 faculty members, admitting students on a merit basis. Our new facilities, including a teaching hospital of 500 beds, will eventually occupy some 80,000 square meters. The total investment over the next 15 years will be about $250 million. When the project is complete, the Aga Khan University in Kenya alone will employ over 4,000 people. The challenges of developing any new university are immense. They are massive consumers of human and material resources, even when they fall short of world-class standards. This means that the sponsors of new universities in the developing world will need to make significant long-term commitments and be capable of keeping them. My hope is that the commitment we are announcing today will encourage other private initiatives while also encouraging educators from the public sector to welcome private institutions as complementary players rather than as competitive ones. I am aware of perceptions that private healthcare in Kenya is expensive. Healthcare worldwide, in fact, is becoming more expensive every year. Sophisticated equipment is increasingly costly, and new technologies are replacing old ones at shorter and shorter intervals. More and more, the treatment of complex cases is calling for teams of specialized professionals rather than the single generalists. The Aga Khan hospitals in Kenya and everywhere else they exist, in India, in Pakistan, in Afghanistan, in Tanzania, operate on a non-profit basis. No dividends are ever distributed. But they also aim to operate on a break-even, self-sustaining basis. In this way, if new external funding is available, it can provide for expanded facilities, new buildings, and expensive new equipment, rather than compensating for operating losses. The question of human resources will be central. How will Kenya retain as many of its qualified practitioners as possible, reversing the trend toward a greater foreign migration of medical and nursing personnel? How can we attract back to Kenya the Kenyan professionals who have left to practice elsewhere? The answers will be complex, but the creation of a world-class healthcare faculty for the Aga Khan University and the expansion of its teaching hospital should make an important contribution to that goal, and thus to the achievement of global best practice standards throughout the region. Thank you.
Our aspiration is to develop the premier university and research center in Africa, with campuses in several countries, all operating as a cohesive and integrated unit and part of an international institution and network. And guided by our Chancellor and the Board of Trustees, you can see that we have set for ourselves some very ambitious goals. Our mission, though, extends beyond only offering professional education to equip young men and women with the knowledge, skills, ethics, and leadership qualities for their future careers. We also have an objective to retain the best minds in the country by offering the students not only international standard education, but also equivalent career opportunities where they can realize professional development and satisfaction. Their presence and capacity will drive the region's social and economic revitalization.
Kenya recognizes His Highness the Aga Khan's personal commitment and passion to serve other human beings, his generosity, thoughtful stewardship, his benevolent spiritual direction, and his many endeavors to alleviate human suffering. His network has made a difference to the country and the people of Kenya. His Highness Prince Aga Khan is awarded the Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart of Kenya, CGH, in recognition of service to the nation and people of Kenya.
Your Highness, let me assure you that you continue to advance the vision and objectives of your operations in Kenya. You can count on my government's unwavering support. I can therefore confidently assure Your Highness and the entire Ismaili community that Kenya is now an even better investment destination. In view of the improvements we have made, I would like to urge members of the Ismaili community to increase their investments in our country. Your Highness, ladies and gentlemen, the spirit of inclusiveness is one of the cornerstones of our social and economic philosophy. In this regard, my government is committed to ensuring that all our people enjoy the benefits of the improved economic performance. In recognition of your dedicated service to the people of Kenya through the various organizations which you lead, I am gratified that I have today bestowed upon Your Highness Kenya's highest medal of honor, the Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart of Kenya, CGH. I encourage you to continue your excellent work of advancing social and economic progress in our country.
Let me say first what a wonderful honor it is to become a Chief of the Order of the Golden Heart of Kenya. And to do so on one's Golden Jubilee. President, I am deeply honored and most deeply grateful. I am also most grateful to His Excellency the President for his warm and generous words. It is a real pleasure for me to be here tonight among so many old and new friends. When I speak of places that have played a major role in my life, no place comes to mind more quickly than Kenya. My ties here go back to my Toto days. How can I ever forget our childhood house on Caledonian Road, now named the Dennis Pritt Road, and the mega rhubarb that I grew up the rainwater drain, or driving down the garden steps in the late Sir Ibu's car. And how can I forget my brother's despair when his pet bantam chickens were eaten one night by a visiting leopard? Little did I suspect that the next night my rabbits would suffer the same fate. But going beyond childhood memories, let me say that the work which has involved me here in more recent years includes many of the most far-reaching and satisfying endeavors of my lifetime. It is good to be in Kenya for another reason, and that is the great spirit of this country. That spirit was evidenced again just 3 weeks ago when a new global opinion survey was published by the Pew Institute and the New York Times. The results came as a surprise to many, particularly when they reported that the peoples of Africa, despite the severe problems, were quite optimistic about the future. Kenyans, in particular, felt not only that their own lives were improving, but that their children's lives would be better than their own. The scholars who conducted the survey also described a sense of realism amongst Africans, an understanding that progress does not come as a steady wave, but rather as a series of surges and setbacks. Out of that realistic spirit has come a strong sense that the African story will have a happy ending. Those who know Kenya know that there are good reasons for this hopeful spirit. Kenya has achieved impressive economic growth for the last 3 years, with the GDP expected to end at the end of this year at 6.9%. This is remarkable. During this same time, there has been a significant inflow of foreign investment and a massive investment in education, in healthcare, and infrastructure. Kenya has one of the highest per capita literacy rates in Africa and is determined to make democracy work. It has created an enabling environment for vibrant enterprise in fields such as agriculture and horticulture, tourism, and finance. In fact, at a recent World Economic Forum, Kenya was ranked among the top 3 countries in Africa in welcoming investment and innovation. Kenya has played a role in past Jubilee celebrations of the Ismaili Imamate during my late grandfather's time and my own. Some of our projects here bear the names which came from those celebrations, like Diamond Trust or Jubilee Insurance. Some of our proudest accomplishments were launched as Jubilee initiatives. In that same spirit, we are announcing this week a number of new Golden Jubilee projects in Kenya and other parts of East Africa, including new ventures for the Aga Khan University Hospital and the Aga Khan University itself. The Aga Khan Academies program will also expand into a new network of world-class primary and secondary residential schools, teaching the International Baccalaureate curriculum and covering no less than 14 countries in Africa and in Asia. Its first school is already functioning in Mombasa and is about to add new residence buildings for faculty and students. These investments will build on past AKDN activities here in the fields of business and finance, the media, healthcare, education, transport, infrastructure investment, and others. They reflect our respect and our affection for the Kenyan people. As you know, my principal preoccupation has been with the developing world, watching as it has oscillated between hope and disappointment. The disappointments often have resulted from the false hope that one theory, or one dogma, or one person, or one party had all the answers to the riddles of development. Genuine hope, on the other hand, has usually been rooted in a tough sense of realism, a recognition that no one has all the answers, that today's answers may not work forever, that good people do not all think alike, and that we must constantly learn from one another for an uncharted future. If one of the themes of a Jubilee celebration is the search for historical perspective, then perhaps it will be appropriate for me to stretch that search back to the roots of the Islamic and Ismaili traditions, as I cite the words of the first hereditary Imam of the Shia Muslims, Hazrat Ali ibn Abi Talib. Hazrat Ali said, "No honor is like knowledge. No belief is like modesty and patience. No attainment is like humility. No power is like forbearance. And no support is more reliable than consultation." Those words seem particularly relevant today. The spirit that Hazrat Ali evokes, the spirit of modesty, humility, forbearance, and consultation, is an approach which we might also call the spirit of partnership. It is this spirit which I hope will characterize these Jubilee celebrations, even as it guides leaders in the public, private, and civil sectors as they confront the great challenges of our time. Thank you.
It is a distinct honor for us today to recognize and celebrate the Golden Jubilee of Your Highness the Aga Khan. His Highness established the Aga Khan Development Network in the 1960s as a group of private development agencies working to empower communities and individuals in disadvantaged circumstances to improve living conditions and opportunities. Early childhood development has been a cornerstone of the network's initiatives in the education sector, especially in terms of reaching children marginalized by gender, faith, or geography, and ensuring their retention and successful integration into primary schooling and beyond. The Madrasa program will continue to work towards making significant contributions to understanding the link between faith, culture, and development, in particular through emphasizing the importance of culture in education.
For some of you, this event marks the culmination of a 25-year story. A story that began with the sowing of some very small but well-selected seeds a quarter of a century ago. Seeds which took root and now have blossomed into an educational success story which can serve as an inspiring example to educators everywhere. From the seed that was planted here in the coastal region some 25 years ago When Biswafia Saeed received her grant from the Aga Khan Foundation, the East African Madrasa program has grown to include 203 preschools with nearly 800 teachers, reaching some 30,000 households and serving more than 54,000 children. This is truly an inspiring story. It is also important to note some additional distinctions concerning this program. One is the program's pluralistic, inclusive approach, embracing Muslim and non-Muslim children alike, and helping all of them to learn important lessons about diversity. I should, I think, share with you the intention of the Aga Khan Foundation to commit itself in the medium term to a faculty of human development. That is, to trying to create an academic resource center around which early childhood education can focus. In the end, the story of the Madrasa program has been a story of personal commitment. And we know that the story must go on. The dream will, inshallah, continue to unfold. And the work which all of you have been doing will continue to resonate in the thousands of lives you have touched and shaped, and in the lives of their children and their grandchildren. Thank you.
From Mombasa, we will remember you, all of us, while you are away.
Our gathering here today commemorates the fact that the Academy's model is still under construction in Mombasa. In order to realize the full impact, the Academy must have the capacity to accommodate students of all backgrounds from all across Kenya. Today's ceremony marks the beginning of the transformation of the Aga Khan Academy from a high-quality day school serving Mombasa area students to a national school serving talented students of all backgrounds from across Kenya. Transforming the Aga Khan Academy in Mombasa into a residential school is an acknowledgement of the richness of learning and personal growth that occurs in a purposeful and joyful residential school environment. We are confident that with up to 60 faculty members living amongst them, the 312 residential students will receive the attention they need to mature and to learn. The best residential school environments are those that expect the most of students in terms of behavior and leadership. Places where peer influence is a positive factor and where students mature into well-disciplined, principled, and happy young adults.
What was described as a dream when we gathered to open the first academy is now much better described as a concrete plan, one which extends out in time and in space to a day some 10 years from now when the Academy network will, inshallah, embrace some 18 campuses across 14 countries in the developing world. But when that day comes, Mombasa will be remembered as the place where it all began. But even as the Academy's program moves on to new beginnings in new locations, scouting out sites, purchasing land, creating partnerships, planning campuses, and laying cornerstones, we continue to expand its work in Mombasa. Here too we are laying a new cornerstone, the first step in the building of a residential campus which will take this school into a new era as it broadens its own geographic reach. We do this now with special confidence, based on what this school has already achieved. The latest evidence is just a month or two old, the results of the recent International Baccalaureate exams, which are used to measure academic accomplishments at some 1,800 schools around the world. To have our very first class of students perform so well, as you have heard, is a great tribute to the students and to their teachers. And it is also good to know that their academic prowess is matched by their accomplishments in athletics and other co-curricular activities, as well as the qualities of personal character which they exemplify. A central premise of the Academy's program is that students will enter based solely on merit, not because of financial resources or family background. Our central hope for the program is that when students leave the academies, they will move on to high-quality universities and then to positions of social leadership. As they go through life, we expect them to reflect the central values of the program: a strong ethical orientation, a sense of personal discipline and civic obligation, and an appreciation for diversity and pluralism.
As the Golden Jubilee year unfolds, we see new areas and dimensions of the sheer scope of the Imamat's work. We have to admit that even as Jamaati leaders, we are sometimes at a loss to comprehend its totality. Hazri Imam, we pledge today to continue serving you to the best of our ability and to serve your Jamaat with humility, compassion, equity, and love, so that we can raise the quality of the life of your murids, an aspiration that Hazri Imam for 50 years has worked for so tirelessly.
The reality of our lives is that life is getting more complex. The growth of the Jamaat and its institutions are causing more needs. And I sometimes say to myself, probably the most complex issue that we have to deal with is to have all the people who need to know talking to each other in such a way that they do know. I hope that in the decades ahead, and perhaps sooner than later, in most of the countries where the Jamaat is living today, the Jamaat will have solid, credible institutions. Institutions which will be able to serve the Jamaat, institutions which will serve the country, institutions which will serve the region, institutions which will be respected and listened to, and that in due course, in most of the countries where the Jamaat is living, the leaders of the Jamaat will have the wherewithal to be significant contributors to national development, to peace in these countries, to intercommunity discussions, so that the Jamaat has the correct place that it should have in these countries, but that it should also be secure in the knowledge that it has this institutional capacity. Whether it's in Syria, whether it's in Central Asia, whether it's in Eastern Africa, it doesn't matter. The fact is that over the decades, I have sought to build this capacity for the Jamaat. Be generous with your time and your knowledge. That means that the future can be built on the time and knowledge of generations who will be brought up properly with good education, with good ethics, true to the principles of Shia Islam. And I must say that from my point of view, on this Golden Jubilee, it is a moment of very, very great happiness as I look forward and I say to myself, inshallah, in a few years, we will see the real outcomes of these all initiatives.
Super